How's that for sound? No sound detected. Oh no. Whatever shall we do? Hey Jasmine, how are you? Yes, wings indeed. Thank God it's Friday. Hey Sunshine, how are you doing? I mean, I would, hey, Tilly, welcome in. I would say I'm thankful for Friday, but not having a job, it's kind of, they all kind of blur together, you know? Happy Friday to you, happy pause. I think the worst was when I got furloughed during COVID. Like, I completely lost track of what day it was. Like, not having that routine of having to get up and go to work. It's just so much. It's amazing how much of your daily routine is centered around that job. Hey, Michelle, how are you? Yeah, Kimmy, yeah, this is the A&W Zero Sugar, and I really like it. Actually, I've tried their cream soda, and it's really good. So, yeah. Hey, how are you? Well, hello, Shadow. How are you? Just to let you know, we are going to be doing the House of Pooh Corner. So sad. No. Hey Michelle, how are you? What's going on? Making you sad. Hope everybody's healthy. Hey Buford, how are you? Actually, that's another one of the songs that I actually wrote the lyrics for. This is one of them as well. I have a 5-song playlist of songs that I wrote their lyrics for, but I did them had them in the in the style of an 80s glam metal. What's the plan? What's the plan? I have a plan. I guess we'll find out. I have 2 stories tonight. Decided to do a little creature feature. Hey Eddie, how are you, brother? Welcome in. What's the plan? Everybody wants to know what the plan is. I have no plan. No, I do have a plan tonight. Crazy Mama, I can provide access to these songs. Actually, I was thinking about I was toying around with a second TikTok channel just for this stuff. Hey Deborah, how are you? Linda, welcome in. I have this variety of songs that I've written the lyrics for and ran them through Suno to create songs, and these are my favorites so far, but I have a couple of other ones. I get that, Shadow. I really do. All we can do is one step at a time, step forward. I hope it gets better. Hey, Peggy. Hey, Latrine. How are you? The ticker don't treat you right? The ticker never treats me right. But that's okay. Next week, I'm bringing the receipts. And a particular social media platform is going to have to answer for what the hell. But I won't tell any more than that because I don't want to ruin anyone's night. Well, thank you for the shares, everybody. I appreciate you. Geez, already at 3,600 likes. You guys work fast. I write the lyrics, and then I go through and I decide what genre I want them to be or what style I want them to be in. But yeah, I have professional musician friends that use Suno, so I am not embarrassed to use it at all. And yeah, well, that's a whole other thing. Hey Lynn, how are you? Yana, how are you? Good evening. I am upright and mobile. Mobile-ish. Yane, that's awesome. Congratulations. That is so cool. I'm so happy for you. Seriously. All right. So, that's enough of those shenanigans for tonight. Maybe I'll play another song in between. So, but we'll see. I do have a script for tonight. I do have plans. I do have visuals. So I'm kind of getting back into the, into the swing of things after not feeling it. Yes. And you know what, Shadow? Emotions are nothing that anyone should make you feel ashamed for or to make you have any of it. It's just your emotions are your emotions, and that's okay. They're okay to feel, regardless of what they are. Believe me, I know. So, but you're here. You're in a safe, calm place. Yeah, that sucks. That really sucks. Hopefully it changes. But like I said, for now, tonight, you're in a safe, comforting place. And, yeah. That's awesome, Yanni. I'm so happy for you. That's so cool. Yeah, it's, man, it's been a rough year. But cheers to all of you. All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome back to Storytime with UndeadPapa. This is the very last stream of July. Not my last stream. Chill. Don't panic. But this is just the very last stream of July. It has been a wild and crazy month, and there have been several times this month where I feel like I've been kicked. I feel like I've been kicked hard, which really sucks. But we just keep stepping forward. I have you all, and that's all that matters. So tonight, we go looking for monsters. Deep beneath the earth, something unseen is moving through the darkness of Mammoth Cave. And far out to sea, something ancient is waiting beneath the waves. There are places in this world, ancient places shrouded in darkness, where human beings were never meant to go. So wherever you're listening from, dim the lights, sit back and relax, because story time is about to begin. Our first story tonight is The Cave of Horror by Captain S.P. Meek. And the man was a real captain. Like a real. He was in the military and that was his rank. Alrighty then. Stop it. Oh, let's see. 25. Suddenly, for no apparent reason at all, one of the men on guard was jerked into the air, feet upwards. Screaming, the guardsman was jerked through the air. An unearthly screech rang through the cavern. The unseen horror of Mammoth Cave had struck again. Dr. Bird looked up impatiently as the door to his private laboratory in the Bureau of Standards swung open. But the frown on his face changed to a smile as he saw the form of Operative Carnes of the United States Secret Service framed in the doorway. "Hello, Carnes," he called cheerfully. "Take a seat and make yourself at home for a few minutes. I'll be with you as soon as I finish getting this weight." Carnes sat on the edge of a bench and watched with admiration the long, nervous hands and the slim, tapering fingers of the famous scientist. Dr. Bird stood well over 6 feet and weighed 206 pounds stripped. His massive shoulders and heavy shock of unruly black hair combined to give him the appearance of a prize fighter. Totally forgot. I'm glad you guys are here to remind me. Kind of tonight. But anyway. Until one looked at his hands. Acid stains and scars could not hide the beauty of those mobile hands, the hands of an artist and a dreamer. An artist Dr. Bird was, albeit his artistry expressed itself in the most delicate and complicated experiments in the realms of pure and applied science that the world has ever seen, rather than in the commoner forms of art. The doctor finished his task of weighing a porcelain crucible, set it carefully into the desiccator, and turned to his friend. What's on your mind, Carnes? He asked. You look worried. Is there another counterfeit on the market? The operative shook his head. Have you been reading those stories that the papers have been carrying about Mammoth Cave? He asked. Dr. Bird emitted a snort of disgust. I read the first one of them partway through on the strength of its being an Associated Press dispatch, he replied. But that was enough. It didn't exactly impress me with its veracity, and from a viewpoint of literature, the thing was impossible. I have no time to pore over the lubrications of an inspired press agent. So you dismiss them as mere press agent work? Certainly. What else could they be? Things like that don't happen fortuitously just as the tourist season is about to open. I suppose that those yarns will bring flocks of the curious to Kentucky, though. The public always responds well to sea serpent yarns. For those of you that don't know, Mammoth Cave is actually a real place, and it is Mammoth Cave National Park in Kentucky. Mammoth Cave has been closed to visitors for the season, said Carnes quietly. What? Cried the doctor in surprise. Was there really something to those wild yarns? There was, and what is more to the point, there still is. At least there is enough to it that I am leaving for Kentucky this evening, and I came here to express the purpose of asking you whether you wanted to come along. Bolton suggested that I ask you. He said that the whole thing sounded to him like magic, and that magic was more in your line than ours. He made out a request for your services, and I have it in my pocket now. Are you interested? How does the Secret Service cut in on it? Asked the doctor. It seems to me that it is a state matter. Mammoth Cave isn't a national park. Apparently you haven't followed the papers. It was a state matter until the governor asked for federal troops. Whenever the regulars get into trouble, the federal government is rather apt to take a hand. I didn't know that regulars had been sent there. Tell me about the case. Will you come along? Dr. Bird shook his head slowly. I really don't see how I can spare the time, Carnes, he said. I'm in the midst of some work of the utmost importance, and it hasn't reached the stage where I can turn it over to an assistant. Then I won't bother you with the details, replied Carnes as he rose. Oh, sit down, confound you, cried the doctor. You know better than to try to pull that on me. Tell me your case, and then I'll tell you whether I'll go or not. I can't spare the time, but on the other hand, if it sounds interesting enough... Carnes laughed. All right, doctor, he said. I'll take enough time to tell you about it, even if you can't go. Do you know anything about it? No, I read the first story halfway through and then stopped. Start at the beginning and tell me the whole thing. Have you ever been to Mammoth Cave? No. It, or rather they, for while it is called Mammoth Cave, is really a series of caves, are located in Edmonson County in central Kentucky, on a spur of railroad from Glasgow Junction to the Louisville and Nashville Railroad. They are natural limestone caves with the customary stalactite and stalagmite formation, but are unusually large and very beautiful. The caves are quite extensive, and they are on different levels, so that a guide is necessary if one wants to enter them and be at all sure of finding the way out. Visitors are taken over a regular route and are seldom allowed to visit portions of the cave off these routes. Large parts of the cave have never been thoroughly explored or mapped. So much for the scene. Fun factoid, There are over 420 miles of surveyed caves in Mammoth Cave. The geologists believe that there could be over 200 more miles of unexplored cave. Sucker's huge. I don't know why I'm so enthusiastic about that. Like, cave exploring scares the hell out of me. About a month ago, a party from Philadelphia who were motoring through Kentucky entered the cave with a regular guide. The party consisted of a man, his wife, and their 2 children, a boy of 14 and a girl of 12. They went quite a distance back into the caves, and then, as the mother was feeling tired, she and her husband sat down, intending to wait until the guide showed the children some sights which lay just ahead and then return to them. The guide and the children never returned. Yana, I have not, but it is on my list. What happened? No one knows. All that is known is the bare fact that they have not been seen since. A kidnapping case? Apparently not. In the light of later happenings, although that was at first thought to be the explanation. The parents waited for some time. The mother says that she heard faint screams in the distance some 10 minutes after the guide and the children left, but they were very far away, and she isn't sure that she heard them at all. At any rate, they didn't impress her at the time. When a half hour had passed, they began to feel anxious, and the father took a torch and started out to hunt for them. The usual thing happened. He got lost. When he failed to return, the mother, now thoroughly alarmed, made her way by some uncanny sense of direction to the entrance and gave the alarm. In half an hour, a dozen search parties were on their way into the cave. The father was soon located, not far from the beaten trail, but despite 3 days of constant search, the children were not located. The only trace of them that was found was a bracelet, which the mother identified. It was found in the cavern some distance from the beaten path and was broken, as though by violence. There were no other sounds of a struggle. When the bracelet was found, the kidnapping theory gained vogue. For John Harrell, the missing guide, knew the cave well, and the natives of the vicinity scouted the idea that he might be lost. Inspired by the large reward offered by the father, fresh parties began to explore the unknown portions of the cave. And then came the second tragedy. 2 of the searchers failed to return. This time, there seemed to be a little doubt of violence, for screams and a pistol shot were heard faintly by other searchers, together with a peculiar screaming howl, as it was described by those who heard it. A search was at once made toward the spot where the bracelet had been picked up, and the gun of one of the missing men was found within 50 yards of the spot where the bracelet had been discovered. 1 cylinder of the revolver had been discharged. Were there any signs on the floor? The searchers said that the floor appeared to be rather more moist and slimy than usual, but that was all. They also spoke of a very faint smell of musk, but this observation was not confirmed by others who arrived a few moments later. What happened next? The governor was appealed to, and a company of the National Guard was sent from Louisville to Mammoth Cave. They took up camp at the mouth of the cave and prevented everyone from entering. Soldiers armed with service rifles penetrated the caverns, but found nothing. Visitors were excluded, and the guardsmen established regular patrols and sentry posts in the cave, with the result that one night, when time came for relief, the only trace that could be found of one of the guards was his rifle. It had not been fired. Double guards were then posted, and nothing happened for several days, and then another sentry disappeared. His companion came rushing out of the cave, screaming. When he recovered, he admitted that both he and the missing man had gone to sleep and that he awoke to find his comrade gone. He called, and he says that the answer he received was a peculiar whistling noise, which raised all the hair on the back of his neck. He flashed his electric torch all around, but could see nothing. He swears, however, that he heard a slipping, sliding noise approaching him, and he felt that someone was looking at him. He stood it as long as he could, then threw down his rifle and ran for his life. Had he been drinking? No. It wasn't delirium either, as was shown by the fact that a patrol found his gun where he had thrown it. But no trace of the other sentry. After this second experience, the guardmen weren't very eager to enter the cave, and the governor asked for regulars. A company of infantry was ordered down from Fort Thomas to relieve the guardsmen, but they fared worse than their predecessors. They lost 2 men the first night of their guard. The regulars weren't caught napping, for the main guard heard 5 shots fired. They rushed a patrol to the scene, found both of the rifles which had been fired, but the men were gone. The officer of the day made a thorough search of the vicinity and found some 200 yards from the spot where the sentries had been posted a crack in the wall through which the body of a man could be forced. This body crack had fresh blood on each side of it. Several of his men volunteered to enter the hole and search, but the lieutenant would not allow it. Instead, he armed himself with a couple of hand grenades and an electric torch and entered himself. That was last Tuesday. He has not returned. Was there any disturbance heard from the crack? None at all. A guard was posted with 2 machine guns pointed at the crack in the wall, and a guard of 8 men and a sergeant stationed there. Last night, about 6 o'clock, while the guard were sitting around their guns, a faint smell of musk became evident. No one paid a great deal of attention to it. But suddenly, for no apparent reason at all, one of the men on guard was jerked into the air, feet upwards. He gave a scream of fear, and an unearthly screech answered him. The guard, with the exception of 1 man, turned tail and ran. 1 man stuck by his gun and poured a stream of bullets into the crack. The retreating men could hear the rattle of the gun for a few moments, and then there was a choking scream, followed by silence. When the officer of the day got back with the patrol, there was a heavy smell of musk in the air, and a good deal of blood was splashed around. The machine guns were both there, although one of them was twisted up until it looked like it had been through an explosion. The officer commanding the company investigated the place, ordered all men out of the cave, and communicated with the War Department. The Secretary of War found it too tough a nut to crack, and he asked for help. So Bolton is sending me down there. Do you think, in view of this yarn, that your experiments can wait? The creases on Dr. Bird's high forehead had grown deeper and deeper as Carnes had told his story. But now they suddenly disappeared, and he jumped to his feet with a boyish grin. "How soon are we leaving?" he asked. "In 2 hours, Doctor. A car is waiting for us downstairs, and I have reservations booked for both of us on the Southern tonight. I knew that you were coming. In fact, the request for your services had been approved before I came here to see you." Dr. Bird rapidly divested himself of his laboratory smock and took his coat and hat from a cupboard. "I hope you realize, Carnsey, old dear," he said as he followed the operative out of the building, that I have a real fondness for your worthless old carcass. I am leaving the results of 2 weeks of patient work alone and unattended in order to keep you out of trouble, and I know that it will be ruined when I get back. I wonder whether you are worth it." "Bosh," retorted Carnes. "I'm mighty glad to have you along, but you needn't rub it in by pretending that it is affection for me that is dragging you reluctantly into this mess. With an adventure like this ahead of you, leg irons and handcuffs couldn't keep you away from Mammoth Cave, whether I was going or not." It was late afternoon before Dr. Bird and Carnes dismounted from the special train which had carried them from Glasgow Junction to Mammoth Cave. They introduced themselves to the major commanding the guard battalion which had been ordered down to reinforce the single company which had borne the first brunt of the affair, and then interviewed the guards who had been routed by the unseen horror which was haunting the famous cave. Nothing was learned which offered any great degree from the tale which Carnes had related to the doctor in Washington, except that the officer of the day who had investigated the last attack failed to entirely corroborate the smell of musk which had been reported by the other observers. "It might have been musk, but to me it smelled differently," he said. "Were you ever near a rattlesnake den in the West?" Dr. Bird nodded. "Then you know that peculiar reptilian odor which such a place gives off. Well, this smell was somewhat similar, although not the same by any manner of means. It was musky, all right, but it was more snake than musk to me. I rather like musk, but this smell gave me the horrors." "Did you hear any noises?" "None at all. The men described some rather peculiar noises, and Sergeant Jervis is an old file and pretty apt to get things straight, but they may have been made by men who were in trouble. I saw a man caught by a boa in South America once, and the noises he made might very well have been described in almost the same words as Jervis used." "Thanks, Lieutenant," replied the doctor. "I'll remember what you have told me. Now, I think that we'll go into the cave." "My orders are to allow no one to enter, Doctor." "I beg your pardon, Carnes, where is that letter from the Secretary of War?" Carnes produced the document. The lieutenant examined it and excused himself. He returned in a few moments with the commanding officer. "In the face of that letter, Dr. Bird," said the major, "I have no alternative to allowing you to enter the cave, but I will warn you that it is at your own peril. I'll give you an escort if you wish." "If Lieutenant Pierce will come with me as a guide, that will be all I need." The lieutenant paled slightly but threw back his shoulders. "Do you wish to start at once, sir?" he asked. "In a few moments. What is the floor of the cave like where we are going?" "Quite wet and slimy, sir." "Very slippery?" "Yes, sir." "In that case, before we go in, we want to put on baseball shoes with cleats on them, so that we can run if we have to. Can you get us anything like that?" "In a few minutes, sir." "Good. As soon as we can get them, we'll start. In the meantime, may I look at that gun that was found?" The Browning machine gun was laid before the doctor. He looked it over critically and sniffed delicately at it. He took from his pocket a phial of liquid, moistened a portion of the water jacket of the weapon, then rubbed the moistened part briskly with his hand. He sniffed again. He looked disappointed, and again examined the gun closely. "Carnes," he said at length, "do you see anything on this gun that looks like tooth marks?" Nothing, Doctor. Neither do I. There are some marks here which might quite conceivably be fingerprints of a 40-foot giant. And those two parallel grooves look like the result of severe squeezing. But there are no tooth marks. Strange, there is no persistent odor on the gun, which is also strange. Well, there's no use in theorizing. We are confronted by a condition and not a theory. As someone once said, let's put on those baseball shoes and see what we can find out. Dr. Bird led the way into the cave, Carnes and the lieutenant following closely with electric torches. In each hand, Dr. Bird carried a phosphorus hand grenade. No other weapons were visible, although the doctor knew that Carnes carried a caliber .45 automatic pistol strapped under his left armpit. As they passed into the cave, the lieutenant stepped forward to lead the way. "I'm going first," said the doctor. "Follow me and indicate the turns by pressure on my shoulder. Don't speak after we have started, and be ready for instant flight. Let's go." Forward into the interior of the cave they made their way. The iron cleats of the baseball shoes rang on the floor, and the noise echoed back and forth between the walls, dying out in little eerie whispers of sound that made Carnes' hair rise. Ever forward they pressed, the lieutenant guiding the doctor by silent pressure on his shoulder, and Carnes following closely. For half a mile they went on until a restraining pressure brought the doctor to a halt. The lieutenant pointed silently toward a crack in the wall before them. Carnes started forward to examine it, but a warning gesture from the doctor stopped him. Slowly, an inch at a time, the doctor crept forward, hand grenades in readiness. Presently he reached the crack, and shifting one of the grenades into his pocket, he drew forth an electric torch and sent a beam of light through the crack in the dark interior of the cave. For a moment he stood thus, and then suddenly snapped off his torch and straightened up in an attitude of listening. The straining ears of Carnes and Lieutenant Pierce could hear a faint, slithering noise coming toward them. Not from the direction of the crack, but from the interior of the cave. Simultaneously, a faint, musky reptilian odor became apparent. "Run!" shouted the doctor. "Run like hell! It's loose in the cave!" The lieutenant turned and fled at top speed toward the distant entrance to the cave, Carnes at his heels. Dr. Bird paused for an instant, straining his ears, and then threw a grenade. A blinding flash came from the point where the missile struck, and a white cloud rose in the air. The doctor turned and fled after his companions. Not for nothing had Dr. Bird been an athlete of note in his college days. Despite the best efforts of his companions, who were literally running for their lives, he soon caught up with them. As he did so, a weird, blood-curdling screech rose from the darkness behind them. Higher and higher in pitch the note rose until it ended suddenly in a gurgling grunt, as though the breath which uttered it had been suddenly cut off. The slithering, rustling noise became louder on their trail. "Faster!" gasped the doctor as he put his hand on Carnes' shoulder and pushed him forward. The noise of the pursuit gained slightly on them, and a sound as of intense breathing became audible. Dr. Bird paused and turned and faced the oncoming horror. His electric torch revealed nothing, but he listened for a moment, and then threw his second grenade. Keenly he watched its flight. It flew through the air for 30 yards and then struck an invisible obstruction and bounded toward the ground. Before it struck, the downward motion ceased, and it rose in the air. As it rose, it burst with a sharp report, and a wild scream of pain filled the cavern with a deafening roar. The doctor fled again after his companions. By the time he overtook them, the entrance of the cave loomed before them. With sobs of relief, they burst out into the open. The guards sprang forward with raised rifles, but Dr. Bird waved them back. "There was nothing after us, men," he panted. "We got chased a little way, but I tossed our pursuer a handful of phosphorus, and it must have burned his fingers a little, judging from the racket he made. At any rate, it stopped the pursuit." The major hurried up. "Did you see it, Doctor?" he asked. "No, I didn't. No one has ever seen it or anything like it. I heard it, and from its voice I think it has a bad cold. At least it sounded hoarse, so I gave it a little white phosphorus to make a poultice for its throat. But I didn't get a glimpse of it." "For God's sake, Doctor, what is it?" "I can't tell you yet, Major. So far as I can tell, it is something new to science, and I am not sure just what it looks like. However, I hope to be able to show it to you shortly. Is there a telegraph office here?" "No, but we have a signal corps detachment with us. They have a portable radio set which will put us in touch with the Army net." "Good. Can you place a tent at my disposal?" "Certainly, Doctor." "All right. I'll go there, and I would appreciate it if you would send the radio operator to me. I want to send a message to the Bureau of Standards to forward me some apparatus which I need." "I'll attend to it, Doctor. Have you any special advice to give me about the guarding?" "Yes. Have you or can you get any livestock?" "Livestock?" "Yes. Cattle preferred, though hogs or sheep will do in a pinch. Sheep will do quite well." "I'll see what I can do, Doctor." "Get them by all means if it is possible to do so. Don't worry about paying for them. Secret Service funds are not subject to the same audit that Army funds are. If you can locate them, drive a couple of cattle or half a dozen sheep well into the cave and tether them there. If you don't get them, have your sentries posted well away from the cave mouth, and if any disturbance occurs during the night, tell them to break and run. I hope it won't come out, but I can't tell." A herd of cattle was soon located, and 2 of the beasts driven into the cave. 2 hours later, a series of horrible screams and bellowing were heard in the cave. Following their orders, the sentries abandoned their posts and scattered. But the noise came no nearer the mouth, and in a few minutes silence again reigned. "I hope that will be all that will be needed for a couple of days," said the doctor to the commanding officer. "But you had better have a couple of more cattle driven in the morning. We want to keep the brute well fed. Is there a tank stationed at Fort Thomas?" "No, there isn't." "Then radio Washington that I want the fastest 3-man tank that the Army has, sent here at once. Don't bother with military channels. Radio direct to the Adjutant General, quoting the Secretary of the Treasury as authority. Tell him that it's a rush matter, and sign the message Bird if you are afraid of getting your tail twisted." Twice more before the apparatus which the doctor had ordered from Washington arrived, cattle were driven into the depths of the cave, and twice were the screams and bellowings from the cave repeated. Each time searching parties found the cattle gone in the morning. A week after the doctor's arrival, a special train came up, carrying 4 mechanics from the Bureau of Standards, together with a dozen huge packing cases. Under the direction of the doctor, the cases were unpacked and the apparatus put together. Before the assembly had been completed, the tank, which had been requested, arrived from Camp Meade, and the Bureau mechanics began to install some of the assembled units in it. The first apparatus which was installed in the tank consisted of an electric generator of a peculiar design which was geared to the tank motor. The electromotive force thus generated was led across a spark gap with points of a metallic substance. The light produced was concentrated by a series of parabolic reflectors directed against a large quartz prism, and thence through a lens which was designed to throw a slightly divergent beam. Well, as much as I love TikTok and the TikTok shop, it appears that they don't want anybody to see me tonight. Gotta love it. I've been doing this all month. This apparatus, Dr. Bird explained to the Signal Corps officer who was an interested observer, is one which is designed by the Bureau for the large-scale production of ultraviolet light. There is nothing special about the generator except that it is highly efficient and gives an almost constant electromotive force. The current thus produced is led across these points, which are composed of magnalloy, a development of the Bureau. We found on investigation that a spark gave out a light which is peculiarly which was peculiarly rich in ultraviolet rays when it was passed between magnesium points. However, such points could not be used for the handling of a steady current because of lack of durability and ease of fusion, so a mixture of graphite, aluminum, and metallic magnesium was pressed together with a binder which will stand the heat. Thus we get the triple advantages of ultraviolet light production, durability, and high resistance. The system of reflectors catches all of the light thus produced except the relatively small portion which goes initially in the right direction, and directs it on this quartz prism here. Due to the refractive powers of the prism, the light is broken up into its component parts. The infrared rays in that portion of the spectrum which lies in the visible range, that is, from red to violet inclusive, are absorbed by a black body, leaving only the ultraviolet portion free to send a beam through this quartz lens. I thought that lens would absorb ultraviolet light, objected the signal officer. A lens made of glass will, but this lens is made of rock crystal, which is readily permeable to ultraviolet light. The net result of this apparatus is that we can direct before us as we move the tank a beam of light which is composed solely of the ultraviolet portion of the spectrum. In other words, an invisible light. Yes, that is, invisible to the human eye. The effect of this beam of ultraviolet light in the form of severe sunburn would be readily apparent if you exposed your skin to it for any length of time, and the effects on your eyesight of continued gazing would be apt to be disastrous. It would produce a severe ophthalmia and temporary impairment of the vision. Somewhat the same symptoms are as observed in snow blindness. I see. May I ask what is the objective of the whole thing? Surely. Before we can successfully combat this peculiar visitant from another world, it is necessary that we gain some idea of the size and appearance of it. Nothing of the sort has before made its appearance so far as the annals of science go, and so I am forced to make some rather wild guesses at the nature of the animal. You are probably aware of the fact that the property of penetration possessed by all waves is a function of their frequency, or perhaps I should say of their wavelength. Certainly, the longer rays of visible light will not penetrate as deeply into a given substance as the shorter ultraviolet rays. This visitor is evidently from some unexplored and indeed unknown cavern in the depths of the earth where visible light has never penetrated. Apparently in this cavern the color of the inhabitants is ultraviolet and hence invisible to us. You are beyond my depth, Doctor. Pardon me. You understand, of course, what color is. When sunlight, which is a mixture of all colors from infrared to ultraviolet inclusive, falls on an object, certain rays are reflected and certain others are absorbed. If the red rays are reflected and all others absorbed, the object appears red to our eyes. If all the rays are reflected, the object appears white. And if all the rays are absorbed, it appears black. No, I understand that. The human eye cannot detect ultraviolet. Suppose, then, that we have an object, either animate or inanimate, the surface of which reflects only ultraviolet light. What will be the result? The object will be invisible. I think it would be black if all the rays except ultraviolet were absorbed. It would. But, Mark, I did not say the others were absorbed. Are you familiar with fluorescence? No. I think you are. It is the dye used in making changeable silk. If we fill a glass container with fluorescein solution and look at it by reflected light, it appears green. If we took it by transmitted light, that is, light which has traversed the solution, it appears red. In other words, this is a substance which reflects green light, allows a free passage to red light, and absorbs all other light. This creature we are after, if my theory is correct, is composed of a substance which allows free passage to all of the visible light rays, and at the same time reflects ultraviolet light. Do I make this clear? Perfectly. Very well, then. My apparatus will project forward a beam of ultraviolet light, which will be in much greater concentration than exists in an incandescent electric light. It is my hope that this light will be reflected by the body of the creature to a sufficient degree to allow me to make a photograph of it. But won't your lens prevent the ultraviolet light from reaching your plate? An ordinary lens made of optical glass would do so, but I have a camera here equipped with a rock crystal lens, which will allow ultraviolet light to pass through it practically unhindered, and with very slight distortion. When I add that I will have my camera charged with X-ray film, a film which is peculiarly sensitive to the short wavelengths, you will see that I have a fair chance of success. Sounds logical. Would you allow me to accompany you when you make your attempt? I will be glad of your company, if you can drive a tank. I want to take Carnes with me, and the tank will only hold 2 besides the driver. I can drive a tractor. In that case, you should master the tricks of tank driving in short order. Get familiar with it, and we'll appoint you as driver. We'll be ready to go in tonight, but I am going to wait a day. Our friend was fed last night, and there is no chance he'll be about. The early part of the next evening was marked by howls and screams coming from the mouth of the cave. As the night wore on, the noises were quite evidently coming nearer, and the sentries watched the cave mouth nervously, ready to bolt and scatter according to their orders at the first alarm. About 2 a.m., the doctor and Carnes climbed into the tank beside Lieutenant Leffingwell, and the machine moved slowly into the cave. A searchlight on the front of the tank lighted the way for them, and attached to a frame which held at some distance ahead of them was a luckless sheep. "Keep your eye on the mutton, Carnes," cautioned the doctor. "As soon as anything happens to it, shut off the searchlight and let me try to get a picture. As soon as I have made my exposures, I'll tell you, and you can snap it on again. Lieutenant, when the picture is made, turn your tank and make for the entrance to the cave. If we are lucky, we'll get out." Forward the tank crawled, the sheep bleating and trying to break loose from the bonds which held it. It was impossible to hear much over the roar of the motor, but presently Dr. Bird leaned forward, his eyes shining. "I smell musk," he announced. "Get ready for action." Even as he spoke, the sheep was suddenly lifted into the air. It gave a final bleat of terror. Then its head was torn from its body. "Quick, Carnes!" shouted the doctor. The searchlight went out, and Carnes and the lieutenant could hear the slide of the ultraviolet light which Dr. Bird was manipulating open. For 2 or 3 minutes the doctor worked this apparatus. "All right," he cried suddenly. "Lights on and get out of here." Carnes snapped on the searchlight, and Lieutenant Leffingwell swung the tank around and headed for the cave mouth. For a few feet their progress was unhindered, and then the tank ceased its forward motion. Although the motor still roared and the tank slid on the cave floor, Carnes watched with horror as one side of the tank bent slowly in toward him. There was a rending sound, and a portion of the heavy steel fabric was torn away. Dr. Bird went over something on the floor of the tank. Presently he straightened up and threw a small object into the darkness. There was a flash of light, and bits of flaming phosphorus flew in every direction. The anchor which held the tank was suddenly loosed, and the machine crawled forward at full speed, while a roar, as of escaping air mingled with a bellowing shriek, burned the smoke-laden air. "Faster!" cried the doctor as he threw another grenade. Lieutenant Leffingwell got the last bit of speed possible out of the tank. They reached the cave mouth without further molestation. "I had an idea that our friend wouldn't care to pass through a phosphorus screen," said Dr. Bird, with a chuckle as he climbed out of the tank. "He must have been rather severely burned the other day, and once burned is usually twice shy. Where is Major Brown?" The commanding officer stepped forward. "Drive a couple of cattle into the cave, Major," directed Dr. Bird. "I want to fill that brute up and keep him quiet for a while. I'm going to develop my films." Lieutenant Leffingwell and Carnes peered over the doctor's shoulders as he manipulated his films in a developing bath. Gradually, vague lines and blotches made their appearance on one of the films, but the form was indistinct. Dr. Bird dropped the films in a fixing tank and straightened up. "We have something, gentlemen," he announced, "but I can't tell yet how clear it is. It will take those films 15 minutes to fix, and then we will know." In a quarter of an hour he lifted the first film from the tank and held it to the light. The film showed a blank. With exclamation of disappointment he lifted a second, and third filmed from the tank with the same result. He raised the fourth one. "Good Lord!" gasped Carnes. In the plate could be plainly seen the hindquarters of the sheep held in the grasp of such a monster as even the drug-laden brain of an opium smoker never pictured. Judging from the sheep, the monster stood about 20 feet tall, and its frame was surmounted by a head resembling an overgrown frog. Enormous jaws were open to seize the sheep, but, to the amazement of the three observers, the jaws were entirely toothless. Where teeth were to be expected, long, parallel ridges of what looked like bare bone appeared. Without even a rudimentary segregation into teeth, the body of the monster was long and snake-like, and was borne on long, heavy legs ending in feet with 3 long toes, armed with vicious claws. The crowning horror of the creature was its forelegs. They were of enormous length, thin and attenuated looking, and ended in huge misshapen hands, knobby and blotched, which grasped the sheep in the same manner as human hands. The eyes were as large as dinner plates, and they were glaring at the camera with an expression of fiendish malevolence which made Carnes shudder. "How does that huge thing ever get through that crack we examined?" demanded the lieutenant. Dr. Bird rubbed his head thoughtfully. "It's not an amphibian," he muttered. As is plainly shown by the shape of the limbs and the lack of a tail, and yet it appears to have scales of the true fish type. It corresponds to no recovered fossil, and I am inclined to believe it is unique. The nervous organization must be very slow, judging from the lack of forehead and the general conformation. It has enormous strength, and yet the arms look feeble." "It can't get through that crack," insisted the lieutenant. "Apparently not," replied the doctor. "Wait a moment, though. Look at this." He pointed to the great disproportion between the length and diameter of the forelegs, and then to the hind legs. "Either this is grave distortion, or there is something mighty queer about the conformation. No animal could be constructed like that." He turned the film so that an oblique light fell on it. As he did so, he gave a cry of astonishment. "Look here," he said sharply. "It does get through that crack. Look at those arms and legs. There is the answer. The creature is tall and broad, but from front to rear it can measure only a few inches. The same must be true of the frog-like head. That animal has been developed to live and move in a low-roofed cavern and to pass through openings only a few inches wide. Its bulk is all in 2 dimensions." "I believe you're right," said Carnes as he studied the film. "There is no doubt of it," answered the doctor. "Look at those paws, too, Carnes. That substance isn't bone. It's gum. The thing is so young and helpless that it hasn't cut its teeth yet. It must be a baby, and that is the reason why it made its way to the cave when no other of its kind ever has." "How large are the full-grown ones, if this is a baby?" asked the lieutenant. "The Lord alone knows," replied Dr. Bird. "I hope I never have to face one and find out. Well, now that we know what we are fighting, we ought to be able to settle its hash." "High explosive?" suggested the lieutenant. I don't think so. With such a low nervous organization, we would have to tear it practically to pieces to kill it. And I'm anxious to keep it from mutilation for scientific study. I have an idea, but I'll have to study a while before I'm sure of the details. Send me the radio operator. The next day, the Bureau of Mechanics began to dismount the apparatus from the tank and to assemble another elaborate contrivance. Before they had made an end of the work, additional equipment arrived from Washington, which was incorporated in the new setup. At length, Dr. Bird pronounced himself ready for the attempt. Under his direction, 3 cattle were driven into the cave and there tethered. They were there the next morning, unharmed, but the second night, the now familiar bellowing and howling came from the depths of the cave, and in the morning, 2 of the cattle were gone. That will keep him quiet for a day or 2. And now to work. The tank made its way into the cave, dragging after it 2 huge cables which led to an engine-driven generator outside the cave. These cables were attached to the terminals of a large motor which was set up in the cave near the place where the cattle were customarily tethered. This motor was the actuating force which turned 2 generators, one large and one small. The smaller one was mounted on a platform on wheels which also contained the spark gaps, the reflectors and other apparatus which produced the beam of ultraviolet light which had been used to photograph the monster. From the larger generator led 2 copper bars. One of these was connected to a huge copper plate which was laid flat on the floor of the cave. The other end to a platform which was erected on huge porcelain insulators some 15 feet above the floor. Huge condensers were set up on this platform, and Dr. Bird announced himself in readiness. The steer was dragged into the cave and up a temporary runway which led to the platform containing the condensers. There, tied with the copper bus bar from the larger generator, fastened to 3 flexible copper straps, which led around the animal's body. When this had been completed, everyone except the doctor, Carnes, and Lieutenant Leffingwell left the cave. These 3 crouched behind the searchlight, which sent a mild beam of ultraviolet into the platform where the steer was laid. The engine outside the cave was started, and the 3 men awaited with tense nerves. Holy cow. For several hours, nothing happened. The steer tried from time to time to move, and finding it impossible, set up plaintive bellows for liberty. "I wish something would happen," muttered the lieutenant. "This is getting on my nerves." "Something is about to happen," replied Dr. Bird grimly. "Listen to that steer." The bellowing of the steer had suddenly increased in volume, and, added to the note of discontent, was a note of fright, which had previously been absent. Dr. Bird bent over his ultraviolet searchlight and made some adjustments. He handed a helmet-like arrangement to each of his companions. "Oh, God, I'm not tired, I swear," and slipped one over his head. "I can't see a thing, Doctor," said Carnes in a muffled voice. "The objects at which you are looking absorb rather than reflect ultraviolet light," said the doctor. This is a sort of fluoroscope arrangement, and it isn't perfect at all. However, when the monster comes along, I am pretty sure that you will be able to see it. You may see a little more as your eyes get accustomed to it. I can see very dimly, announced the lieutenant in a moment. Dimly, the walls of the cave and the platform before them began to take vague shape. The three stared intently down the beam of ultraviolet light which the doctor directed down the passageway leading deeper into the cave. "Good Lord!" ejaculated Carnes suddenly. Slowly, into the field of vision became the hideous creature they had seen on the film. As it moved forward, rustling, slithering, sound could be heard even over the bellowing of the steer and the hum of the apparatus. The odor of musk became evident. Along the floor toward him the thing slid. Presently it reared up on its hind legs, and its enormous bulk became evident. It turned somewhat sideways, and the correctness of Dr. Bird's hypothesis as to its particular shape was proved. All of the bulk of the creature was in 2 dimensions. Forward it moved, and the horrible human hand stretched forward, while the mouth split in a wide, toothless grin. Nearer the doomed steer, the creature approached, and then the reaching hands closed on the animal. There was a blinding flash, and the monster was hurled backward as though struck by a thunderbolt, while a horrible smell of musk had burned flesh filled the air. "After it! Quick!" cried the doctor as he sprang forward. Before he could reach the prostrate creature, it moved, and then, slowly at first, but with rapidly gaining speed, it slithered over the floor in retreat. Dr. Bird's hand swung through an arc, and there was a deafening crash as a hand grenade exploded on the back of the fleeing monster. An unearthly scream came from the creature, and its motion changed from steady forward glide to a series of convulsive jerks. Leffingwell and Carnes threw grenades, but they went wide of their mark, and the monster began to again increase its speed. Another volley of grenades was thrown, and one hit scored, which slowed the monster somewhat, but did not arrest the steady forward movement. "Any more bombs?" demanded the doctor. "Damn!" he cried as he received negative answers. "The current wasn't strong enough. It's going to get away." Carnes jerked his automatic from under his armpit and poured a stream of bullets into the fleeing monster. Slower and slower the motion of the creature became, and its movements again became jerky and convulsive. "Keep it in sight!" cried the doctor. "We may get it yet." Cautiously the 3 men followed the retreating horror. Leffingwell pushed before him the platform holding the ultraviolet ray apparatus. The chase led them over familiar ground. "There's the crack!" "Too late!" He rushed forward and seized the lower limb of the monster and tried with all his strength to arrest its flight. But despite all that he could do, it slid sideways through the crack in the wall and disappeared. A final backward kick of its leg threw the doctor 20 feet against the far wall of the cave. "Are you hurt, Doctor?" cried Carnes. "No, I'm all right. Put on your masks and start the gas. Quick! That may stop it before it gets too far." The three adjusted gas masks and thrust the mouths of 2 gas cylinders which were on the light truck into the crack and opened the valves. The hissing of the gas was accompanied by a thrashing, writhing sound from the bowels of the earth for a few minutes, but the sound retreated and finally died away into utter silence. "And that's that," cried the doctor half an hour later as they took off their gas masks outside the cave. "Got away from us. Carnes, how soon can we get a train back to Washington?" "What kind of report are you going to make to the Bureau, Doctor?" asked Carnes as they sat in the smoker of a southern train headed for the capital. "I'm not going to put in any report, Carnes," replied the doctor. "I haven't got the creature or any part of it to show, and no one would believe me. I am going to maintain a discreet silence about the whole matter." "But you have your photograph to show, Doctor, and you have my evidence and Lieutenant Leffingwell's." "The photograph might have been faked, and I might have doped both of you. In any case, your words are no better than mine. No, indeed, Carnes, when I failed to make the current strong enough to kill it outright, I made the first of the moves which bind me to silence, although I thought that 200,000 volts would be enough." "The second failure I made when I missed him with my second grenade, although I doubt if all 6 would have stopped him. My third failure was when we failed to get a sufficient concentration of cyanide gas into that hole in a hurry. The thing is so badly crippled that it will die, but it may take hours or even days for it to do so. It has already made its way so far into the earth that we could reach it by blasting without danger of bringing the whole place. We couldn't reach it without by blasting without danger of bringing the whole place down on our heads. Even if we could blast our way into the place it came from, I wouldn't dare open a path which would allow Lord only knows what terrible monsters to invade the earth. When the soldiers have finished stopping that crack with 10 feet of solid masonry, I think the barrier will hold, even against that critter's papa and mama and all its relatives. Then Mammoth Cave will be safe for visitors again. That latter fact is the only report which I will make." "It's a dandy story to go to waste," said Carnes soberly. "Tell it, then, if you wish. Get laughed at for your pains. No, Carnes, you must learn one thing. A man like Bolton, for instance, will implicitly believe that a 4-leaf clover in his watch charm will bring him good luck, and that carrying a buckeye keeps rheumatism away from him. But tell him a bit of sober fact like this, attested by 3 reliable witnesses and a good photograph, and you'll just get laughed at for your pains." "I'm going to keep my mouth shut." "So be it, then," replied Carnes with a sigh. So what did you guys think of that one? There was a whole lot of exposition in that one. Oh, I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. I mean, it's that is the goal. Poor sheep. Yeah. Oh, well. Awesome. I'm glad you guys enjoyed it. That one was first published in the early 1930 issue of Astounding Tales of Super Science. So, all right. I apologize if my oh yeah, definitely being throttled. I mean, it's that there's no doubt about it. But there's nothing out here that says why or even says at all that it's being throttled. It's a joke. It is absolutely a joke. They've been doing it all month. So, not tomorrow, but probably next week, I'm going to make a video that basically says, here are all the stats. Explain yourself, TikTok. To give you guys an example, I won't spend a whole lot of time on this, but it is so frustrating. It looks like you're able to share, which is good. But so with this month's live streams, with tonight's live stream notwithstanding. So this is the crazy part. So they have no leg to stand on, which is, simple truth. I have spent more time live, actual live time this month than I did last month. But here's the crazy part. Average total viewers last month was 4,800. Average total viewers this month is 1,600. Average peak concurrent viewers last month, 246. This month, 98. Yeah. I mean, last month, the lives received 3.3 million likes. This month, 1.7. It's laughable. It is. They literally cut me in half. Comments, 11,000 compared to this month, 5,500. Shares last month, 2,300. This month, 987. Well, Buford, I would say that, but last month was the biggest month I've ever had, and I saw constant growth from January all through last month. My numbers this month are like February numbers. Like, they have pushed me all the way back. And it gets worse. I mean, this is crazy. So March, total new followers, 3,700. April, 1,600. May, 2,000. Last month, 5,100. This month, 367. So I'm just going to be straight up. Last month, gifts for my lives totaled $117.98. This month, $41.15. Yeah, back last month, yeah. It's crazy. This is the one that really, I'm just going to say it. I'm not even going to filter myself. This is the number that really pisses me off. Live recommendation percentage. Basically what this means is how many of my views come from live recommendations on the For You page. Okay? January, 89%. February, 88%. March, 87%. And what happens is you'll see the balance where it's people that are following me versus people that have never seen me before. So it was 85%. Then May was 82%. And last month was 83%. But all of this was like, I'm converting people from views to followers like left and right. This month, 74%. I literally got kneecapped. I mean, if you look at like, if you look at the individual, like I have a spreadsheet set up that I dump all the numbers into, numbers that I get directly from TikTok. And this month, what this spreadsheet will show is it shows if it's under average, if below average, it turns the cell in the spreadsheet red. If it's above average, the cell is turned green. I have had more red cells this month than I have had in any previous month. It is absolutely insane. Like views way down. I mean, it's a joke. I mean, this month, like we've seen live recommendations of 78%, 70%, 78%, 60%, which is actually my worst of all time. 74%, 70, 68, 74, 61. My last three lives have been 61, 66, and 60. My guess is this is probably going to be below 60. This tonight is probably going to be below 60%. Mark my words. Which is, I'm going to say it out loud. I am not going to filter myself. This is why I'm putting more effort into YouTube. And telling and saying to you guys, you know, if you want to watch me on YouTube, great. If you want to stay here, that's great too. I will continue to go live on TikTok. But they're not getting as much of my energy anymore. They've shown that they don't care. They've shown that their consistency is so bad that I cannot rely on this. I'm not going to lie. I'm trying to do this. I'm trying to make a living out of this. I'm trying to do this for a living. Not just this, but so many other things. And, big time, Timothy. Like last month, my revenue from here, from just live gifts, was $117. This month, it's below 50. They have in some of the stats have been dropped up to over 50%. Like there are some that are like 78% drop. And you know, with YouTube, there's memberships over there too. And, I can at least count on like every week growth. I started the year in January with 60 followers on 60 subscribers on YouTube. I'm currently sitting at 312. That's huge growth. It's not as much as the 21,000, but if you think about it, I have 21,000 followers. And these are people that have, you know, decided, you know what, Crazy Mama, that is totally valid. And I like I said, I'm going to be both places for now, until I wake up one morning and my TikTok account is probably banned. Because that's what happens. You know, if you start squeaking the wheel too much, they'll ban you. So, but here's the thing. I have 21,000 followers, okay? And I am currently at 450 views on this live, which is why I say that I'm willing to bet that my live recommendation count is going to be less than 60% tonight. And the only thing, and I'm going to say this and I mean it. The only thing that's keeping me here right now and not dumping TikTok completely is you guys. Those of you that show up every live. Those of you that plunk down your hard-earned cash to support me. You guys are why I'm still here. Because otherwise, honestly, at the start of this month, I was so angry that I would have jumped ship a long time ago. Hey, Lorna, how are you? Welcome in. Glad to see you. So it's just, it's frustrating. So 21,000 followers. Let's just do the math, shall we? Timothy, it really does. But the thing is my content is so apolitical. It's like there's no, like, why? All I do is get on and tell stories. I read poems. What is so bad about that? Nothing, actually. It is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. So let's do this. 453 views. Okay. We'll do a little math. Even though I'm not a math person. So that equals 454 views from 21,000 followers. That is 2.2%. So tonight, 2.2% of my followers have seen my content, have been shown my live. Now, I'm not saying all 21,000 are on, are online, but I'm telling you right now, if you look at like my post views, yes, they've been boosted a little bit because of the fact that I have so many loyal people that are following me, but they're still like 400, and it's like 400 views out of 21,000 followers. Like, if they showed me to like 5%, let's just say 5%. I'm going off in the weeds here, and I apologize, but got a little mad. I mean, 5% should be 1,000, but let's just say they showed me to, I don't know, 15%. Let's just be generous. That's 3,100. 3,100. That's followers. If they showed me to people that actually said, yes, I want to, they hit that follow button because they want to see more of my content. And they're not seeing my content. I don't know how many times I hear people say, oh, I haven't seen you in years. I haven't seen you in months. And I'm like, yeah, I know, because TikTok doesn't want to send anybody over here. And it's just, well, this is even better. You guys are going to love this. So when I open up TikTok Live Studio, there is a thing that comes up, and there's an initial screen that comes up that's basically giving you a little bit of information, showing you some pre-made highlights and other stuff like that. And at the top, there's always like a thing from YouTube saying, or not YouTube, but TikTok saying, hey, do this, or hey, do that, or this is where you're standing. And this is what drives me bonkers. Back on the 27th of this month, I opened it up and it says, unbeatable. Your consistency outshines 94% of creators. Not 94% of creators with a similar following. 94% of creators who go live. Period. All of them. That's great, but it's also kind of insulting. if you ask me. And then the same night, I got this one that says, you have more diamonds than 100% of live creators with a similar following. That's scary. That's scary, because if we're talking a similar following, that means they're kneecapping everyone. Like, I'm literally making them money, but they don't want it. And it's like, it makes me want to scream. I'm just like, the 22nd. Your stage presence is strong and clear this month. How so? Please explain that to me. And that's really the other frustrating thing about this whole situation, is the fact that, they're throwing this stuff out there and saying, you're doing great. You're even doing better than a lot of other creators. How so? How so? I show up 4 times a week, same times. Right. And I mean, I have people that come in and say, I have it set up so you have notifications. So notifications when you go live, and I never get them. And then, so to the point where I have followers who come in and they literally put my lives on their calendar, so they know they'll get notifications, just not from TikTok. So, I mean, I don't know what to say. So this next week, if I don't get banned tomorrow after this rant, next week I am going to make a video with all the receipts. And I'm going to be like, you know what? Explain yourself. Here's the numbers. Explain this. But the thing is, they won't. I get a content violation, and they say, and it's, whoa, you said something. Okay, what did I say? And it's so vague. It's like, at some point this month, you may have said something that violated our community guidelines. Casey, when I post that video, if everyone could like, share, repost, comment on it, and tag TikTok when I go to do it, that is what will help. And I'm going to be putting a call out there to other creators saying, look, tell me, is this happening to you too? And I'm willing to bet the answer is going to be yes. I'm willing to bet. So it's like, it's crazy. Like, so I'm going to come on Sunday, and I'm going to start reading The House at Pooh Corner, which is a wonderful book. It's public domain. There's no bad language in it. And we'll see. It's ridiculous. It is absolutely ridiculous, because we'll see what happens. Because it used to be, then I would have 3,000 views and gain 200 followers and, make $20. My son, I have not broken even close to what my previous Sunday used to be my flagship night, where the most people showed up and the most gifts, the most followers, all of that. And they have basically kneecapped it to the point where barely anybody gets to show up. And like I said, I am incredibly grateful for all of you that do show up on a regular basis. I've been out of work for a year, and I have been struggling because it's not that I don't want to work. I want to go back to work. I want to make money so I have a regular income while at the same time building this. But I haven't been able to find a job. I lost count at 400 and some freaking applications. I'm going to be real with you guys. I'm terrified of what this means for me financially. And I'm just going to push through it. I'm just going to keep moving forward, just like I always do. But I applied for SNAP this week. This time last year, I was making $56,000 a year. I wasn't rich. I wasn't even really comfortable, but I was paying my freaking bills. A year later, I'm applying for SNAP. I'm applying for HEAP, which is the Home Energy Assistance Program. And to those of you that have become super fans, those of you that have sent money through various other means, I'm grateful. Believe me, I am so grateful. Because you guys give me hope. I have 2 kids. Fortunately, they're adults. One is 20. She's been buying groceries. My kid has been buying us groceries, which I know everybody says, it's okay that they do that. It's good that they do that. But Jesus fucking Christ. Go ahead. Tag me, TikTok. I really don't care. So pissed off, I'll say the F word if I want to. But she shouldn't have to. Like I said, last year, this time, I was making $56,000 a year, roughly. And when I applied for SNAP, and they did the first phone interview, they said, on your application, it says you have no income. And I said, well, I mean, if you count I put on there that I had some from this, but that's been taken away by TikTok. Look, and you don't have, are you looking for a job? Yeah, I've been looking for a job for a freaking year. And everybody wants to know what, I can't go work. Everyone's like, well, just go get a job. And I'm like, I can't. I walk with a cane. I hate it, but I walk with a cane. I have no cartilage left in my knees. I could not stand at a cash register or, because all of those jobs require you to not only do those things, but also require you to go and walk across the store or do different departments within the McDonald's. All of them. And, I did file for disability. I'm working with a law firm on that. They don't get paid until I do, unless I win. But I got denied the first time. And it was like this super quick denial. They said, don't expect it to take long for them to deny you. And, they said there is no reason there is no reason why you can't do your job, do the job that you had before, even though you have these conditions. What they don't understand is that so much of the IT industry and so many IT jobs have been kind of consolidated, and you're jack of all trades wearing multiple hats. Danielle, that is absolutely true. Or, this is my favorite because companies have been busted doing this. They will put up, help wanted signs, or they'll publish it, and then they won't hire anybody for those jobs. And it's like, what the hell? And it's, I think, one of those things that's like, I'm stuck. I'm in between a rock and a hard place here. And Danielle, I wish you the best. I hope you have far better luck than I have. Sincerely. And I don't get, jealous or anything like that. And, when Yanni comes in here and says that she finally got a job, I am so freaking happy for her. I'm happy for any one of you that gets a win these days. The worst part is just facing that uncertainty. Like, I would love to go visit my daughter that lives in the UK. She's 18, and I am freaking missing her life. But I don't have a job. I have no way to make the money that I need to pay for the freaking airplane ticket to get over there. And even if I did, I couldn't spend it on that. I got to pay my mortgage. I got to pay my freaking utility bill. I've cut down on so many subscriptions that some of them I shouldn't have had in the first place, and some of them I probably won't go back to. But, it's like for, content production, I am looking at every single free alternative I can so that I'm not paying extra money for software that, as much as I would love to keep using it, I can't afford it. Yeah, Wings, I've been working closely with the one that I have, and the biggest thing that they told me was, we're going to push for an appeal, but it can take up to 9 to 12 months. And I've got to call them back and basically say, hey, New York State needs to understand that people who work in IT, unless you're working remotely, and good luck finding one of those jobs, you have to wear multiple hats. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. Yeah, Mama, I hear you. I am fortunate that I live in an area of the country where the cost of living is still low and the cost of housing is still pretty low. I'll be straight with you guys. My mortgage is $1,200 a month. Like, I could sell my house absolutely, I could sell my house. But where am I going to go? Where am I going to go? I couldn't find. I have a 4-bedroom, 1,600 square foot house sitting on a third of an acre of land for $1,200 a month, plus utilities and whatnot. But I know I'm not bragging. All I'm saying is, in this situation, in this economy that we're in right now, yeah. I could go like the townhouse, the two bedroom, 1.5 bath townhouse that I lived in prior to buying this house back in 2010 was $900 a month. Now it's almost $1,400. Like, I would love to move across the country and go live near my best friend out in the Pacific Northwest. And like, if anything that's any housing or any property, or not property, because good luck with that, any home that is even remotely in my price range is a trailer, double wide. And I don't look down on anybody that lives in one of those. Yeah, $1,200. It's crazy. It is absolutely ridiculous. If I want a 2-bedroom apartment out in Vancouver, Washington, it's like $1,500. It's not $1,500. It's like $2,500 a month. It's crazy. Absolutely insane. So unfortunately, I got to stay where I am right now. My dream is to buy a camper and just travel. Yeah, Z-Bot, it's crazy. It is absolutely insane. I would absolutely live in a manufactured home. Let's call it what it is, what they call it now, because some of them are really beautiful. You know, granted, they have no resale value, and they have no real estate value. You're not even like, you might own the trailer, but chances are you're probably renting the land that it's sitting on, and it's frustrating. It is absolutely frustrating. It's we are getting squeezed, and I don't want to do this, but we are getting squeezed so hard in this country that it's ridiculous. Oh, I had one new follower, and now I have 0. Well, whoever you are, I apologize that I made you leave. At this point, I don't care. It's crazy, and I don't like doing this. I don't like getting this worked up. Well, thank you, Gilbert. I am super glad that you are here. Um, yeah, I mean, so like when I purchased my house back in 2010, I paid $107,000 for it. And like I said, it's 4 bedrooms, 2 full bathrooms, 1,600 square feet. It's, I mean, and it's perfect layout. I have, room for my studio that I have my booth in and all that stuff. Um, it's in a nice neighborhood in the suburb that I grew up in. What's crazy? I mean, it is, the house needed work, and it still does. Really does now. My shed roof just caved in. It's just, no, it's one thing after another. Um, but right now, like, I had an assessment done on my house. Freaking almost $250,000 I could probably sell this house for. That's as is. Like, you buy the house, you got to do the repairs. $250,000. That's more than twice what I paid for it. But the crazy thing is I can't take that and go anywhere with it because everywhere else has gone crazy. So here I am. Like I said, I'm at the point now where I just want to get a trailer and just go from campsite to campsite to campsite and travel around the country visiting my friends. But I can't even do that because my daughter still needs a place to stay. And she don't want to travel with me. And she doesn't want to go live with her mom over in the UK. So I have to make sure she's okay. It sucks, man. Absolutely sucks. But if you're going through the same thing, you're not alone. And that's one of the beautiful things about this space that we have created together. That we're all here to just exist in the same place, listening to stories. Well, not really tonight, but you can't. It's so hard. And I can tell. So this is the only thing remotely political that I'm going to say tonight. I have a friend that lives in Canada. I have a friend, and I have my daughter and my ex-wife that live in the UK. People that tell you that universal health care is bad have no frickin' clue what they're talking about. Both of them have had to have major things happen medically. And outside of their taxes, They paid zero. So yeah, whatever. You know, it's like, whoa, they got to wait. Dude, have you tried to get an elective procedure done in the U.S.? Good luck. You're going to be waiting 6 or 7 months for it, which is the same amount of time. You know, it's ridiculous, and people just don't get it. But that's, like I said, the only remotely political thing I'm going to say tonight. Well, see, here's the thing, and I think so. I think the founding fathers had the right idea when they said, "We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights. Among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness." Life. Not the chance at life, but life. Life is a right. Freedom is a right. Liberty is a right. The pursuit of happiness is a right. Not happiness itself, but the pursuit of happiness. Guys like Thomas Jefferson, they chose their words very, very carefully. And part of life being a human right is access to affordable health care. And yeah. Right. And those are all part of that life being an unalienable right of every person. It's crazy. No. I have really gone off the rails tonight. Man, I really went off the rails tonight. It's just, yup. Like, how is that even an argument? How is it even an argument then that everybody should have access to health care? How is that even an argument? That it's not okay. Come on. Drained pool politics? No, I haven't. I'll go look it up. Yeah, they make it an argument. It's just like the fact that, we have veterans living on the street. Buford, yeah. I mean, just come on. The fact that we have veterans living that are homeless is an embarrassment. I come from a family of veterans. I am not a veteran myself. I could not serve because of I had just had knee surgery. Yeah, Wings, it's absolutely insane. Like how self-absorbed. We are in the richest country on the face of the planet. Yet we have veterans that are living on the streets. We have people that are going into vast amounts of debt because it's either that or they die. Like right now, I'm fighting for my prescriptions. I'm running out of certain medication. Like, I'm out of my diabetes medication. So I'm like, yeah, Z-Bot, absolutely. It's like, I'm sorry. If you can afford to send them to war, you can afford to take care of them when they come home. A veteran should never want, if they have sacrificed for their country, volunteered, whatever, a veteran should never want for anything for the rest of their lives. Period. Oh, my goodness gracious. I don't know. But I'm going to still be here. Because these lives give me life. Yeah, my father served, my stepfather served, my brother has served, my uncle, several of my uncles, my grandmother, two of my grandfathers. One of my grandfathers served in North Africa during World War II, Italy, and up into Europe. And then proceeded to stay in the army and ended up serving with distinction in Korea, where he was awarded the Bronze Star. Participated in the last bayonet charge in military history. But when he came home, he was so messed up and got so little from the government, ended up an alcoholic. Died early because of it. And he was a good guy. Absolutely refused to talk about his service. The only thing he ever said to me once was, Jeremy, all I'm going to tell you is that I have seen things and experienced things that nobody should ever have to experience. And that's all he would say. We didn't really know anything about his time in the service until after he passed away. That's when we found out he had been awarded a Bronze Star. So he was buried with full military honors. We all want the same thing. We want to do what's right for our kids. If we have kids, we want to make sure that they are better off than we are. And those of us want to leave the world a better place than when we found it. And at this point, we can't even do that. I'm 51, so I'm solidly Gen X, and my generation is going to be the first generation that actually did worse than our parents. Cherish them, Mama. Cherish them. I know I cherish the ones that I have from my family. Yeah. Timothy, it's awful. And the thing is like, people were just so angry at what was going on. My dad is, both my father and my stepfather, who I call Dad, served during Vietnam. One was in the Navy, the other one was in the Air Force. Well, and that's the thing, Jasmine. Most cosmetic surgeries are not covered by insurance. and they're not covered. They're out of pocket in Canada and the UK as well. And for-profit healthcare is immoral. It is absolutely 100% immoral. You know, my dad, my stepfather, who I call dad, and my father, they both served in Vietnam. I said that already. But my dad is very active with the Vietnam Veterans of America. And he's very proud of his service. You know, one of the goals that of that organization is that never again, that it's never, what happened to them is never going to happen. Yeah, Jasmine, I can understand the frustration with that, but that more so, it's generally classified as mental health, you know. But that's not something I want to get into. I have trans people in my life, and I would take a bullet for any one of them. Hear that, TikTok? I will take a bullet. Go ahead. Dare me. Anyway, guys, it's 11:06. I'm going to put a pin in the story, the second story tonight. Right? Gender affirming care. Yeah. I mean, it's mental health, physical health should all be covered. Nobody should want for that, ever. But the second story I was going to read tonight, I'm going to put a pin in, and we'll read it next Wednesday. Yeah, because, this happened, and I went off the rails big time. But that's okay. You guys all stuck with me, and I appreciate it. And if you don't want to stick with me, well, that's your choice. Same to you, Buford. And same to all of you. But Sunday will be better. As was said in Lily's purple plastic purse last Sunday. Today was a difficult day. But tomorrow will be better. Same to you, Queen. And Zbot, absolutely. I mean, and I think, maybe one live a month, I wouldn't mind just scheduling chit-chat time. Why not, right? But yeah. So Sunday we will start. Love you too, Sunshine. You guys have made that very clear, Casey. And I couldn't be better about it. Get a big one, Buford. Get a huge one. I'll come drive it for you. I don't know how well I'll do, but we'll try. Sunday we'll be reading. Sunday and Monday we'll be reading House of Pooh Corner. I promise I won't go off the rails those 2 nights. I hope to see you. I hope to see you guys there. Next Wednesday we will read the second story that I was supposed to read tonight. And then we'll go from there. Yeah, in the span of this live, I lost 10 followers. Go figure. I don't care. But until then, please be kind to each other. And be kind to yourself, because kindness matters. And so do you. We'll see you Sunday. Good night, everybody. And good night over there on the tubes. I appreciate you guys more than I can say.